Hello, welcome, and welcome back to those who are returning. Thanks for being here. Today, we're going to be looking at r/Am I the Devil? Maybe a bit of a shorter post today. I am unsure. I have not read it yet, but we will see. So, if that sounds like something you'd be interested in listening to today, then please do stick around and enjoy. And don't forget to like and subscribe, please. Thank you. Okay, first post. Bro's acting like she wants to kill him, says the person who shared this into Am I the Devil? So this was originally shared to r/True Christian, and the title is How to Deal with a Liberal Spouse. Okie dokie artichoke. When my wife and I married a few years ago, I was hesitant. She had been away from the church for years before and only knew liberal mainline Christianity. As we were dating, she eagerly moved towards biblical Christianity and began joining me for church and small groups. I always stressed to her that raising my kids in the faith and having them either homeschooled or going to Christian school has always been very important for me. She agreed that we would send our kids to Christian school before we got married. Okay, so you're both on the same page. It doesn't sound bad so far. After marriage, everything changed. She no longer wanted to change her last name, something she was verbally eager to do before the ring. She decided she no longer wanted our daughter to go to Christian school and didn't want to stay home with her. She wanted to develop her career and now wants our daughter to go to public school. There are so many other things like this, but those are a few. She now identifies as a liberal, progressive Christian. Yeah, but there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, if she wants to go out and work, but she's still, following Christianity and, she's still bringing up your kid Christian, just a more modern day Christian who is obviously probably a whole lot more accepting and what have you. I don't see the problem. I don't get it. I feel completely lied to and feel deep regret in trusting her. I feel stupid for marrying someone who doesn't believe the same things I do. The differences boil up into constant arguments between us. Has anyone else dealt with a spouse like this? They lead you to believe that they are someone they are not before the wedding, and afterwards they are nearly opposite. Or perhaps I simply didn't dig deep enough and didn't trust my hesitations. Or people change, people's minds change, people develop as humans as they go and as they gain more life experience. This dude is acting like she decided to join a satanic cult. She's still a Christian. I fail to see the issues here. I'm really hoping that someone with some experience in this area can share some insight for me. Thank you, fellow believers. Now, do I think that as people, we are better off suited to others that share our same belief systems, our same wants and needs from life? Yeah, of course I do. But of course, I feel this OP just completely ignores the fact that there are nuances to everything. Life changes, people's opinions change, people's wants and needs change, everything like that. Your beliefs change. It's one of those things. We are meant to grow as people, and that doesn't stop either. It doesn't matter how old you are, it doesn't stop. But I would like to point out that this guy got with her knowing that she was originally very sort of a liberal Christian, as he calls it. And then he possibly, I'm going to take a wild guess, kind of pressured her into acting the other way. Now, could she have gone, I don't want to do that? Of course she could. But I feel like him acting so shocked that she's kind of gone back towards how she would feel more comfortable and what she believes in is so silly. Because when he met her, she was like that. Why is he so surprised? It feels more to me like he's pressured her into acting a certain way and she's kind of gone, no, actually, I'm not doing that. I think it has nothing to do with the fact that they've got married. I think it's just that she's gone, why am I bending to someone else's beliefs? Why am I not staying true to myself kind of thing? That's what I think anyway. So we're going to read the comments from the Am I the Devil post, because when I tell you the comments of the other one were unhinged, I am not even joking. And none of them were trying to give a more sort of balanced perspective. It was all like, yeah, your wife's the devil and you need to leave her kind of thing. Wild Return 7075 says the comment history has the real nightmare stuff. Constant comments in dead bedrooms when his wife is 10 months postpartum with postnatal depression. Sigh. Yeah, like he clearly doesn't really care about his wife. He only cares about his belief system and that's it. And then otherwise ad 3730 says, no, he's a good Christian. Postnatal depression, that's the work of the devil. I honestly feel so bad for the wife here. He really does not care about her in the slightest. And then Raising the Stakes says, well, it clearly states in the Bible, if thy wife has the big sad, 'tis the work of the devil. Only a holy sausaging can excise the demon from her. 2 minutes should do the trick. P.S. The female orgasm is a tool of the devil too. That's the other funny thing is, like, if you go far enough into any of these communities with, like, specifically the men's side, you learn that they grass on themselves entirely. They're like, women don't orgasm. I've never had one woman do it with me. They lie if they say they do. And it's like, my friend, I have some things to tell you and you're not going to like it. So, next post, my 34F husband, 34M, screamed at our daughter just for singing Golden. How do I get him to realise it's not okay? Okay, but first of all, can we just talk about how annoyingly that song will just stick in your head? Like, oh my god, because it's all over like socials and stuff. Me and my eldest watched it when it came out, and then since then, for some reason, my algorithm seems to think that is all I want to see. So it's all just videos with those songs in the background. I'm like, ah! They are such earworms. And I hate getting an earworm. Even if the song is good, it's still annoying. Anyway, I met my husband 12 years ago and have been married for 7 years. He's generally a sweet, kind-hearted person and is usually fun to be around. We have a 6-year-old daughter who's also terrific. Lately, her favourite film is K-pop Demon Hunters and absolutely loves to sing the songs, especially Your Idol and Golden. She memorised all the lyrics. I know her constantly singing it can be a bit annoying, but I used to drive my parents crazy singing songs from The Lion King, so I didn't mind too much. My youngest makes sounds and constantly shouts phrases from SpongeBob SquarePants. Including SpongeBob's laugh. I can't tell you, by the way, how creepy that is to hear at 10 o'clock at night when everyone else is asleep, and then all of a sudden you just hear SpongeBob's laugh coming from somewhere in the darkness. My husband, however, hated that film and tried to encourage her to sing only when he's not around. That's because your husband obviously likes to suck the joy out of everything, clearly. Yesterday, though, once she sung Golden, he flipped out and screamed at her and warned her not to sing anything from Demon Hunters anymore. I tried to calm him down, but he accuses me of lying to myself and says I secretly wanted it to stop, even if you did. Like, they're a kid. Leave them alone. And that he's the brave one enough to do something about it. As a result of his screaming, she won't talk to him. I don't blame her. Honestly, again, when my kid is doing their a whole routine of just repeating over and over and over the same phrases that they hear on SpongeBob, I put my headphones in. And I'll just say, Mummy's putting her headphones in now. If you need me, just tap me on the shoulder or whatever to get my attention. And I never put them high enough so I can't really hear if like someone started shouting because they'd hurt themselves or something. But sometimes you do need to do that because it's like, oh my God, I feel like I'm going to scream. But because I have emotional regulation, you know, I don't, because they're a child. What a dick this guy is. How do I get him to realise that it's not okay to scream and to apologise? He sounds just awful, honestly. I'd be like, okay, next time you do something that annoys me, like breathing, I'm going to scream at you. Probably not the healthiest way to deal with it, but my God, do I get my back up if someone's nasty to my kids. So let's go skip on into the comments to see the OP's husband getting flamed, shall we? Off Kira says, have you spoken to your daughter after this? You just mentioned calming him down, so how bad was he really acting that you had to jump in there immediately? How loud was he? What did he actually say? Where was your child in all of this? You also said that you tried to encourage her not to sing around him. So is this current behaviour new? Or is it an escalation? Did you on some level know that he would eventually snap and be aggressive? Look, I find kids constantly talking and singing fucking annoying, which is why I don't have kids. Your husband is the adult, the fucking parent. He's not brave for screaming at his child, for being so into his own anger that you had to try and soothe him, yes, as if he's a baby. But if this is just the kind of normal behaviour and attitude from him, you've got much bigger fish to fry, and much to examine and reflect on, because your daughter is the one who will suffer the most from both of you guys' behaviour and actions. And then Serena says, seriously, him legitimately calling himself brave for screaming at his young child, who is 6, remember, 6 years old, literally still a baby near enough, is embarrassing, and he should feel so ashamed. He should, and I hope he does. I hope he feels awful. I hope he feels absolutely dreadful. I hope his boss screams at him. Do you know what? Actually, yeah. I hope his boss screams at him every single time he does the slightest thing wrong. You know, payback. But realistically, if I was going to give advice to this OP, I would say family therapy and some individual therapy for the dad, because clearly he's got some issues. If he thinks it's okay to scream in a 6-year-old's face and that makes him brave because she sang Golden, which, let me be honest, gets stuck in my head even. Is he going to scream at me? I'd dare him. I'd fight a grown man. Last post for the day then. Am I the butthole for telling my girlfriend to be quiet in a museum? Background, I, 25M, was invited to go on a vacation for a week with my girlfriend, 22F, and her family, mother, father, brother, and his fiancé. I don't know what exactly her dad's issues are, but he's obviously got some sort of intellectual disability. During our vacation, we've stopped at a few museums and historical sites. Every single time my girlfriend wants her dad to walk with us. At first, I was fine with it, but then I realised he can't read. Hold on, how are you at the point of going on vacations with your girlfriend and you don't know what the actual issue is with her dad? Have you never actually bothered to ask? That's weird. At every stop, my girlfriend is narrating everything for her dad. He's half deaf too, so she's either leaned right close to him or speaking loudly so that he can hear. Not only can he not read or hear, he hardly understands what is being read to him, so my girlfriend has to repeat half of it in simpler terms for him to get. Okay, so what's the alternative? Leave him out of everything? No. I'm a fast reader, so I'll be ahead of them, but hearing my girlfriend yell out what I just read 3 minutes ago, followed by her dad saying, "What does that mean?" and her spending another 10 minutes explaining what she literally just read and him still not getting it, this is why museum narrated tours give them through headsets. I sense some ableism going on here. I'm sure it disrupts other visitors as well, which is why when we stopped today, I asked her not to narrate everything. She said she had to for her dad. I suggested that he'd just get as much out of looking at the artifacts and pictures, since he doesn't understand half of what's going on anyway. Then she says, that's not true. He loves learning. He especially enjoys historical facts. Like, come on now. He has to be constantly reminded if a museum is interactive or not because he will try to touch anything and everything. That's his mental functioning level. I told her it's disrespectful and kind of obnoxious to other visitors for her to be talking out loud constantly while people are trying to absorb what they're reading. Like, she's just making learning about new things accessible for her dad, who obviously has some problems. What's wrong with that? Nothing. After a bit of back and forth, she told me I could walk away ahead of them so I don't get distracted, but she was going to read to her dad. Then at lunch, I thought she was past it since everyone seemed to be in a good mood, but when we sat down to eat, she made a jab that no one should talk so I don't get too distracted while trying to eat. She's still pissed, obviously, and now so am I. That felt totally out of line. Am I the butthole? Yes, you're the butthole. Yes. Her dad clearly has some, the way you described it, mental functioning, issues. But why does that mean he should be left out of things? And why does that mean he shouldn't be treated just like everyone else trying to learn about these things? We don't learn by just looking at something. We learn by learning the history of it, the little facts about things. And yeah, he might struggle to retain the information. It might be harder for him, but it doesn't mean he should be left out of it just because it's an inconvenience to the way you like to enjoy the museum. Like, obviously, this is not me trying to infantilize the dad, by the way. I just want to point that out and make that clear. But if I was to take one of my kids to the museum, I'd probably have to explain things a couple times to them until they got it. Does that mean that they shouldn't be allowed to enjoy the museum and learning? That's what a museum's for, is to explore and learn about things that you might not understand right there and then. That's literally the whole point, for learning. So then down in the comments, Allergy Mum 74 says, "You're the butthole. Ableist much?" What would have been a reasonable question to ask is, hey, the museum offers headset and audio accessible aids. Would that help all of yous enjoy the museum together? Parents age. Parents need support when enjoying family time. It's cool and all you enjoy your speed reading and rushing along, but this was a family vacation for her family, and you treated her father like an inconvenience on their family trip that you were invited to join. Anyone of any ability deserves to enjoy learning and exploring museums at their own pace. Most museums have special aids to support people with different disabilities. Most museums aren't silence as the tombs nowadays. Exactly. A lot of museums now encourage discussion and talking and, asking questions, because that's the whole point of them. Art museums still have that feel, exactly, but art is very much based on the way that you personally and individually perceive it, so obviously you don't need to learn the facts and stuff because it doesn't really matter. But most history and other museums are much more interactive and inclusive. I doubt your relationship will survive how callously you treated her father. It also makes me worry if one day they have kids, is he gonna get in a huff and annoyed if they take kids to a museum and the kids are asking a bunch of questions and they're not quite getting what they're telling you straight away? You're gonna get annoyed with them too? Okay, so I think that's where we're going to leave it for the day. If you made it all the way to the end with me, then I appreciate you very, very much. If you give a little like, subscribe, notifications on, that is your initiation into the cult of void. Welcome. Whatever it is you're doing for the day, I hope you have a really good rest of the day. Goodbye.